Okay, we decided they're gonna just go ahead and start without any. Okay.
Oh, the one for this meeting, but that's fine. Okay. Recording secretary. You pass these out after, when we go into our next meeting? Yeah.
Did you get the ones for the other ones? We'll talk during the meeting,
Okay.
between the meetings.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. Roll call, please.
President Wojnicki.
Present.
I don't even know which one. President Wojnicki, can you hear
Present.
now? Trustee Muir,
Here.
Trustee Millette, Trustee Hoffensberger,
Here.
Trustee Burson,
Here.
Trustee Boatner,
Here.
Trustee Benetti.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. I just want to announce that Patsy Smith will be our recording secretary today. Tracy is on vacation, lucky her. So please rise for the pledge. Kim, will you lead us in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll move on to public comments. Anybody have public comment regarding this agenda? Any items? No? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Action item is a motion to rescind the February 3rd, 2026 action confirming the president's appointment of Patsy Smith as village treasurer. Therese, go
I
ahead.
have a motion. I'd like to move the Board of Trustees to enter into closed session to discuss the appointment of legal counsel.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Kim. Roll call.
Trustee Hoffensberger,
A.
Trustee Muir,
Aye.
Trustee Benetti,
Nay.
Trustee Boatner,
Nay.
Trustee Burson,
Nay.
and Trustee Millette.
He's absent.
Correct.
Okay, motion fails.
Yep.
Okay.
You can close.
Yeah.
I will vote yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
3 to
All right.
2.
Motion
No, 3
passes.
to-
Okay, we can have closed session in this room, or we can move to the conference room. I'll leave it up to you.
That's what I
3 to
think.
3?
So it fails.
Yeah, I think it's 3-3.
Yeah,
Okay,
so the motion fails with a tie.
with a tie?
If there's a tie, that's correct. The motion
okay.
fails, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 3-3.
So we
Okay.
can't go to closed session, but, so I guess, move on to your next agenda item.
Okay, motion to adjourn for the agenda for the special meeting of the corporate authorities?
No,
Of,
the next agenda item is 5A.
oh, I don't have them.
Yes, this
Ah,
agenda.
got it, sorry.
This is what they put forward.
Okay. Well, that's motion to rescind the February 3rd, 2026 action confirming the president's appointment of Patsy Smith as village treasurer. We just went through that.
So moved.
Yeah. Moved by
Second?
Frank, second by Nick. Okay. Discussion? Kim?
Okay, so I just have some conflicting opinions that I've been looking at and finding on whether or not this is a vote that we can actually take. So I'm not certain, so I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to vote on this. I'm just a little leery that it's not an appropriate vote, but I'm here anyway, so I don't know if anybody can, we've got a room full of attorneys, I don't know if we can get an opinion from Tom maybe, or something.
Sure, I'd be. Oh, sorry.
You have
Could you
questions,
please
Kim?
say, could the attorney please state his name for the record?
Sure, my name is Thomas Melody. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Klein, Thorpe and Jenkins. There is a procedure in Robert's Rules called a motion to rescind, whereby a person can, a member of a board can make a motion to rescind something that was done at a previous meeting. That motion requires 4 affirmative votes to be successful. And what my understanding is that the motion is to rescind the action whereby advice and consent was given to the appointment of the treasurer.
Okay, any other discussion? Therese?
Jim, you had a question to it.
I'm doing a trustee Millet moment.
Okay. You're formulating your question. Somebody, Nick, go to somebody next.
By the way, we have 2 attorneys here. We have Carrie Lynn also here, and then we do have Tom Melody. So
And Ken.
feel comfortable to, ask either one. And Ken Shepro, good to see Ken here too. So, all right, go ahead,
I think we have one
Kim.
village attorney right now, though, so, I have a question, if I may. I have heard some concern amongst our body that the treasurer might have a vested right in the office that they were appointed to, notwithstanding our motion to rescind. Can you speak to that, and to whether the carrying this motion would expose the village to any liability?
Yes.
But, and the question is whether the treasurer has a vested right to the appointment. And in our opinion, the answer to that is no. I understand how others could interpret things differently, but we believe that the motion to rescind would be a legitimate exercise by the village board, should it choose to do that.
Okay,
So-
Therese, go ahead.
So my question is I disagree with that decision. It was my understanding that she is now a duly appointed official municipal officer based on the fact that she has been sworn in, she is bonded, and she has actually performed the duties of treasurer for the last 2 weeks. So in my opinion, the rescission noted, or rescission motion's inappropriate because she's already a sitting officer. And I'd like to know, can we ask the other attorney for? We've been told we can
Absolutely.
ask for opinion on that as well.
Sure. Do I have to sign her in as an
Well-
interim for now?
well,
Interim attorney?
Why is that
Yeah.
an absolutely? I think the board gets to vote on that, whether we want to have an additional opinion or not.
Well, there's an issue right now.
We didn't get that.
Attorney is, and we're going to discuss that with everyone in closed session, but the board didn't want to do that. So,
That's what I meant.
but the answer to your question, this is one of the reasons.
You need a mic.
Let her go.
Oh, we'll have you talk at that one, yep.
Hi there.
Well-
I'm Carrie Lynn Crafter with Ansel Link, and I'm the temporary village attorney that's been appointed until that issue is resolved by the village board. So there's an issue and dispute about that. Now, one of the reasons why people don't like lawyers is because sometimes there's gray areas and people defer on things. So one of the issues that you have is a procedural issue here. Can there be a vote to rescind? And the courts have held, in some instances, there can be a vote to rescind. Generally, you would accomplish it by a motion to reconsider under Robert's Rules, which your village has adopted. And that motion would have to be made by a member of the prevailing side on the day of the meeting. The problem here is that what you've done is you've confirmed an appointment to fill a vacancy in an appointive office. And where I disagree with Mr. Melody is that once that happens, Illinois courts have said that there's you have a protected property interest and due process rights in being removed from an appointed office. So just as one of the things this board has to work through is the removal of the appointed attorney and that process, if you remove someone who's taken an oath of office, you're going to subject yourself, in my opinion, to civil rights liability for removing someone without due process after an oath has been taken and without, and at a time as such protected property interest had vested. Now, is there a right to an appointed office? Not usually, but at such time as the office holder has taken an oath of office, that's when those rights have vested.
Thank you, Carrie. Any questions or discussion? No? Nick? Therese, go ahead.
So just to be clear, are we saying that the motion to rescind, I guess there's a little bit of a disagreement as to whether or not that's even a proper motion, correct? So
No, I don't think there's any disagreement about that. It's definitely something that's recognized by Robert's Rules, which, like Ms. Krafthofer said, has been adopted by the village. So there's no question that it's a proper motion. The question is the effect of that motion.
Okay. Thank you.
I think that's where, not where the question is, I think that's where the disagreement is. Perhaps it would be prudent to table this to a future meeting.
We have 3 attorneys here tonight. Ken, would you like to give us your opinion as well? You'd have to come up to the podium. Okay. I'd have to lower the microphone. James? can
My
you-
name's Ken
Yeah, no,
Shepro,
he's got it.
Wayne, Illinois. My day job now, among the other things, is parliamentarian for the Kane County Board. I practiced law for, actually, my 50th class reunion's coming up in about 2 months. And all the time I've specialized in municipal law, I have never heard of a situation where an officer duly appointed and confirmed can be unconfirmed by the board that confirmed it. The municipal code, in my opinion, gives the president the authority to appoint and gives the board the authority to advise and consent. They can choose not to consent, but if they do, that's it. I mean, there's no say, and I agree with Ms. Krafthofer that a motion to reconsider cannot be made at a subsequent meeting. If you read Robert's Rules of Order, a motion to reconsider a vote taken must be made at the same meeting at which the original vote is taken, not at a later meeting. And if, in fact, that motion would be in order, under what statutory authority, would be my question for Mr. Melody, under what statutory authority can he find in this, that says that a board may essentially abandon its previous confirmation? And if they could do it at the next meeting, why couldn't they do it 3 meetings or 4 meetings or next year at any point if they don't like it? The sole authority under the Illinois Municipal Code to remove an appointed officer appointed by the president is the president. The president could remove, and then it would be up to the board whether to affirm or to disaffirm that removal by an appropriate vote. But I do not believe there is any basis in law for a unilateral action by the board just because somebody changed their mind. So,
Okay, any
That's my
questions for
opinion.
Ken or comments? Janet?
I do have a question. There is also a procedure for the corporate authorities to remove an officer irrespective of the president's decision to do that. Is that correct?
not an appointed officer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Ken? Frank? Hold on, Ken.
So I thought Robert's rules, which we've adapted, and I'd like to have Attorney Melody maybe respond to the question, allowed us to rescind not only at the meeting, but at the, before the next regularly scheduled meeting. I thought it was pretty clear. So I guess,
It is clear. Mr.
Can you-
Shepro is talking about a motion for reconsideration, and he's right, that has to be made at the same meeting. This is not, the motion that was made was not a motion for reconsideration, it was a motion to rescind. That's a different motion, it's a different section of Robert's Rules, and it's treated differently.
Robert's rules does not affect, cannot act in derogation of the municipal code. Robert's rules was originally written for private organizations, and you can rescind action if you're a private organization. You cannot rescind action that would have the effect of nullifying the president's power to make appointments. If you can rescind at any time, then the power to appoint is meaningless. And I would challenge Mr. Melody to show me anything in the statute that governs local municipalities that says that a appointed officer can be unconfirmed once they have been confirmed.
I would point to the statute that requires the advice and consent of the village board for the appointment of an officer, and I would argue that an action to rescind that advice and consent means that the advice and consent no longer exists, and therefore the appointment is no longer in effect.
So any
That's the
appointment by
argument.
the
If you'd let me
president,
finish, that
any
was the
appointment by
argument.
the president could be rescinded at any time.
Perhaps.
Okay.
That's our
Well,
difference of opinion.
I-
And I respect your opinion,
Right.
and we respectfully disagree.
Yeah. You don't have a case that says that, right?
Do you have a case that says what you're saying?
I have never heard of anybody attempting to do that, frankly, in my years of practice.
There are cases that say
Yeah.
motions to rescind are inappropriate when rights are vested.
Yes.
So they have come up in the context of contracts that have been awarded, and once the contracts have been awarded, if rights are vested, they don't allow people to change their votes afterwards without paying damages to them. But more significantly here, you have the property interest, which the courts have held, vest when someone holds actually an appointed office. So that is what I think is the more troubling part of it. So there are certain instances when motions to rescind are proper. Those are when someone voted in error or made a mistake, or something was transcribed differently, or someone misunderstood a motion. But it normally comes up at that meeting, not along the road, because it would be very significantly disruptive to government if elected and appointed officials would be removed and appointed because someone changed their mind later. So there are cases on the vesting of rights prohibiting motions to rescind.
I guess one more example. If the board, say, it passed a zoning ordinance and somehow somebody forgot to put in the R1 district, it would be appropriate at a later meeting, at any meeting, when someone realized that, to say, I want to rescind that and change it and amend it and fix the error. But that's different. And by the way, if someone had come in during that period of time, let's say that your zoning ordinance said that it would be, I don't know, okay to have a tattoo parlor in the R1 district, and somebody came in and applied for it, and then you said later on, well, we didn't mean to do that, we want to rescind it. If that person complied with all the requirements at the time they applied, it would be held that their rights had vested. You can't take them away. And the same thing would apply at minimum in the case of an appointed officer. And again, if the legislature had intended to allow the board to unilaterally rescind the advice and consent, I think they would have said so. And they haven't, and I don't think it can be done. But again, it's, I guess we will find out.
Hold on, Ken, before Janet.
It's not a question, just a comment that the notion is, as far as I'm aware of this board, is not that the appointment can be rescinded at any time. That it can be rescinded precisely at this time, because this is the first meeting, subsequent to this appointment.
And your
So,
authority for that is what?
This goes back to Robert's rules, so that's where we're at.
Okay. Well, okay, if the court wants to say that Robert's rules takes precedence over the statutes, then I guess
We don't have anything else in our code governing conduct in these situations. That's limited
you are a
strictly.
non-home rule municipality. You cannot override the statutes, no matter what you pass locally.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
All right. Any other, Frank? Go ahead.
So just a question of our current attorney. What's our exposure if we proceed with this?
Well, if Mr. Shepro is correct, then the rights have vested, and your exposure would be that you have violated the rights of the treasurer, and he or she would be entitled to whatever pay they would have gotten, maybe damages and attorney's fees. I'm sorry? Yeah, reinstatement, yeah.
Section 1983.
Of course. All right.
Yes.
Nick,
more.
go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to just take a minute to kind of explain my position regarding the treasurer's appointment. I put some thoughts together to make sure I wouldn't miss anything. I should be under my 3 minutes. But at the last board meeting, I voted against my better judgment to approve a temporary treasurer appointment. That vote was intended to serve as a bridge, a short-term solution to quickly fill a vacancy and maintain continuity. However, since that meeting, it has become increasingly clear to me that continuing down the path of appointing an individual treasurer only is not the best course of action for this village. The village board has already voted to approve an agreement with Lauterbach and Amon to serve as our full-time bookkeeping and in-house accounting firm. Cost of this service is saving us $30,000 roughly from where we were last year with our treasurer's role. But it's not simply about filling a position, it's about ensuring that our finances are managed correctly, professionally, and with long-term stability. We have seen time and time again that when financial management is dependent on one individual, regardless of who that person is, the village becomes vulnerable. Individuals come with limitations, learning curves, and sometimes issues that become the burden of management and the burden of the board. The treasurer's role is not minor. Mistakes in this position do not remain isolated. They snowball. They impact our monthly financial reports, our budget cycle, our finance committee, and ultimately every decision that this board has to make regarding spending, planning, and taxpayer accountability. Our board needs accurate and timely information, and our village needs accounts monitored properly. Transfers must happen on schedule, and we must remain compliant with statutory guidelines and government finance requirements. A professional firm provides that stability. Engaging a firm also removes the uncertainty of the hiring process. We don't have to gamble on whether we made the right personnel decisions. We're hiring an organization with proven systems, staffing support, and professional responsibility. Lauterbach and Amen is a firm we already know. We've worked with them for 7 years through our annual audits, and they have an outstanding reputation and a history of reliability with this village. I realize that working with Lauterbach and Amen is not what is on the agenda right now, but I do believe having our treasurer in the role as she is does create a conflict with us engaging with that firm. Additionally, based on the turmoil we've experienced this week, including the dismissal of our village attorney, I believe it is more important than ever that we restore stability, transparency, and accountability in village operations. For those reasons, I came prepared to rescind my prior vote in support of the temporary treasurer appointment of Patsy Smith. It's not personal, and it's not meant as a reflection on Ms. Smith. It is a reflection of what I believe is best for the village moving forward. Thank you.
All right. Therese, go ahead.
So I believe I'm going to sort of mirror the conversation that was had at the last meeting where Mike Millette said to all of us, all the trustees, this is an appointment statutorily that Barbara maintains, and so it is her authority to appoint the treasurer. Unfortunately, the contract that was, I think, inappropriately affirmed for Lauterbach and Amen listed them as the financial director / treasurer, which is her appointment. She's the one that's allowed to make that decision. If we want her to appoint someone in specific, it is our job to convince her to make that appointment. That's how that works. So I think your arguments are valid for your side of this argument, and now what we have to do is we got to make this argument to Barbara. Now we've got Patsy in place, but if we want to switch that up and we want to go with the Lauterbach and Amen or another company or a combination, for the meantime, we've got a treasurer that's in place, but if you want a different treasurer or a different appointment, you've got to talk to Barbara and get her to make a different appointment, but it's her appointment authority. We can want everything that we want, but we still have to, this is her authority. It's her nomination with our consent. But we don't get to tell her who she appoints. She can decide who she appoints. We can decide if we like it or not. So all those arguments that you're saying are great, but we've got to keep in mind that the executive authority is controlling here.
Frank, go ahead.
So to that point, I think when the motion was made to approve Patsy as the treasurer, the condition was that the treasurer was to remain in her lane and only focus on the finances of the organization. Within the very first 2 weeks of her appointment, she violated that agreement, at least in one verifiable instance that I know about. And the reason I voted to allow her to become treasurer was because of the agreement that was discussed in an open meeting. With the violation, it caused me to change my mind. And that's the reason why I want to rescind it. And I thought we had the ability to do it.
Can you discuss what the violation was? Or do you not want to?
I'd rather not. Let's just say she asked for things outside of the treasurer's scope.
All right, any other discussion? Kim? Therese? Yeah, Therese, go ahead.
Without revealing what it was, did you address it with her, or whoever the improper request was made to? Did they push back and say, that's not a proper request? You can't have that? Was it discussed with Patsy to make sure that, that there was an understanding that it was an improper request?
I'm not sure that anybody in staff here would even understand that, and I got confirmation of that right before I came to the meeting here from two different sources, so. But I think it was very clear to Patsy that she should stick to the treasurer's function and the finances. I think that was clear. I think the agreement that trustee Millet provided us made it clear that anything outside of the scope of a treasurer would not be tolerated.
Therese, go ahead.
And unless or until some of those, circumstances are brought to light and we're able to assess if she's done something that's inappropriate or out of her lane, we can't make a decision based on that. So if and when something like that happens, it needs to come to everyone's attention, and we decide, once again, that this is not the forum to do that in, though. This is not the motion to do that in.
Carrie Lynn, do you want to comment on?
Help a little bit, try to resolve this. One of my specialties actually is trying to help boards resolve conflict. It sounds like what you're saying is that
We didn't
instead of having
invite
treasurer,
No, but I'm inviting Carrie Lynn to
Yes,
speak.
but she's not our village attorney.
there's a dispute over that. There's a dispute over that.
Well, but I don't think you're gonna find 4 people here that agree that you're our
Pass
village
that
attorney.
around.
Well, it's not okay. It's not okay.
Yeah, it is okay. Go ahead.
You're not gonna get 4 votes here that say that you're our attorney or that you're invited to speak.
I don't have a horse in this race here. I just am trying to help the board work
Right.
through a little issue of conflict, which, and this, what I have to say might actually help you. It sounds like what you're saying is that you'd prefer to have an outsourced treasurer instead of the person that's in there, and that some things have happened that are concerning you since you installed her in office. Even if you were to reconsider tonight and rescind the appointment and remove her, because under your code, she's an appointed officer, that would mean 2 things. That would mean, first of all, the village president has the power to appoint a temporary successor, and then the village president would have to bring forth somebody else to appoint to that position. And if the board doesn't ratify that confirmation, the president would choose between one or the other. If you want to eliminate the office of treasurer, you have the ability to do that. But what the municipal code says is that you can't do it until the end of the current term of the treasurer. So that would be the way that you would do that. Now, if you have a treasurer that's doing non-treasurer things, certainly you have the ability to control that. So, but I just want to point out that even if there's no dispute over this rescission thing, the result would be the president still having the ability to make a temporary successor, or then another appointment coming before the board. But to get you where you want to be, you'd have to abolish the office at the end of the term. You have the power to do that.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, but, I think your point of trying to do things in a professional manner is what this board is trying to accomplish. This village, in the years that it's existed, and for the size that it is, and for the budget that it has gone through more lawsuits than anybody cares to admit to. It's embarrassing as a resident when you have to talk to somebody or you play pickleball with a newspaper journalist that actually laughs at you for wanting to run for this position. So the ultimate goal is to try to get a professional organization to actually run the day-to-day operation of this village. And that's what we've been trying to accomplish. We've been trying to move in that direction. And that the appointments of friends and neighbors and acquaintances to do things hasn't worked for this village very well. At least not from a legal perspective.
And there's a way to do that. You just have to follow the steps to get you to where you want to be.
All right, any other discussion? Kim, go ahead.
So we were talking that it takes 4 votes to rescind, right?
Correct.
4 votes. Would an abstain vote be just a no vote?
It does not count, it would not count as an affirmative vote,
Okay,
so it would essentially be a no.
okay.
Okay,
I mean, it's not a no, it's an abstain, but you need 4 affirmative votes, if that's what you want to do.
go ahead, Nick.
So the reason I wrote this statement the way that I did. And I'm going to reference a conversation that Treasurer Smith and I had after the last meeting, as well as one before the last meeting. Both were talking about the scope of the term and the role, and where the village and the board were already with an approval of an agreement that is going to be amended tonight, but is approved, and that her role was, to create continuity between now and then. But after the meeting, those conversations and that tone changed completely, and now I was being challenged on whether or not it was going to be okay with Treasurer Smith, whether or not we worked with that firm or not. So to give context to the letter and my concern with moving forward with Treasurer Smith, I'm very concerned that this is going to create a snowball effect where if we can get this taken care of now, we can get on the right path working with a professional agency, and I'm not really sure why or if, or Treasurer Smith, even if you would like to jump in with your thoughts on this.
I'd love to if I had the opportunity.
Feel free.
You may certainly do that.
Now I think I have a better understanding of your concern. After the meeting, it was the administrator and Nick, and I don't remember exactly what we were talking about. So this is the conversation you're referring to? Yes, there was something that was said, and there's several things that concerned me. One is, as the former village president, I'm concerned about boards trying to remove or lessen the presidential power of a sitting president. I have had this discussion with Trustee Burson, and I said, trust me, this was before I even considered or was anybody mentioned me being treasurer. I said, I will do everything I can in my power to preserve those rights for every president that comes after Barbara. So that's that context. Something was said, and I don't know, maybe you can tell me what the first thing was said, but the other thing that's an issue is the Lauterbach and Amon contract that you all approved. It says in the whereases, whereas the corporate authorities hereby believe it's in the best interest of the village to appoint Lauterbach and Amon as the contract accountant, or something like that. And the problem is it's only the village president's ability to that you can't say what she prefers. If you want to appoint someone, the only way it happens is when it goes on the agenda, confirmation of President Wojnicki's appointment of blank with the advice and consent of the board. And then you either vote it up or down. If you don't like it, you vote it down. And then she has the chance to appoint another one. If you don't like that one, exactly what Ms. Krafthafer, is that it? Kraftherfer? Oh, Kraftherfer, okay. Carrie Lynn, okay. So just what she said. And then the president gets to pick one of the two, and that's it for the permanent one. And you also, because the office of treasurer was vacated and abandoned, the village president has the right to appoint an interim without advice and consent of the board until a permanent one's appointed. Is that correct, you lawyers out there? Yes, they're saying that's correct. When she asked me to do it, I thought she was appointing me as the interim. I didn't know it was going on the agenda. But guess what? What you said is you thought it was for an interim position. That's not what was approved 2 weeks ago. And the discussion about trying to limit the term, because my goal is just to get this thing fixed through the end of the fiscal year. That's my immediate concern. But that it had to be for a 3-year term, because that's what our village code says. So that's some of the context of where I was coming from. So I know, and I think these attorneys would tell you, that the contract that you overrode the veto for is flawed. It can never go into effect because it doesn't have the right, because you took away the powers from the village president. So that was one of my points out there. And you said, well, and so that was the issue, is that contract, I believe if it's challenged, is going to fail, because in the first line, it says, just like she just said, finance director slash village treasurer. Can't happen, because Barbara didn't put it on the agenda as her recommendation, and you didn't agree to it. And that's what she's talking about. She's the one you can convince. The only person that can get rid of me right now, in my opinion, is the court or her saying, I don't want her anymore, and I'm appointing somebody else. So if you don't want me here, instead of calling a special meeting, you should be talking to her and convince her to put it on the agenda. I mean, and I think the lawyers will agree, yep, she's right. I mean, and if I'm not right, please say so now. There's 3 of you here.
Yeah, I came in on the tail end of, you
Right.
guys were talking probably 30 minutes when I was walking
No,
out
what-
to leave.
Well,
And
I don't-
only part I heard was the question of hiring Rebecca Floss or not hiring Rebecca Floss. And I s-
Okay, well, so.
That's
so
the only
rest
part
of-
I
that's a
was
different-
talking
So
to
the
about.
rest of the
The
conversation.
rest of it, I wasn't part of that.
The rest of the conversation was, so that's my bad, that's what I'm bringing to the table. I know that contract that you overrode the veto on is invalid and unenforceable. I also know that in between time, I was properly appointed, sworn in and all that junk. So as far as I'm concerned, and have been told, until a court says otherwise, I'm here, supposedly. Now, you guys can argue about your Robert Rules of Order stuff, I don't know who's right on that. But anyway, the other issue is I believe a comment you made was something about, well, we just passed an organizational chart, and it says blah, blah, blah. And I'm pretty sure I pulled out the ordinance for treasurer, because I had it with me, and I said, you and I was looking at you, and I said, you and I both know that no matter what the village says, is if it's in conflict with village code, there is no way it's enforceable, because, and our code even says that, if there's a conflict, the state statute takes precedent. And I showed you, there are 37 whereas, or shalls in the treasurer code. The treasurer shall, the treasurer shall. Nobody else gets to to supervise the treasurer, because I'm held to a higher standard by the law. Now, you have the right, if you assign me additional duties above and beyond the state statute, for supervision. But I haven't been assigned anything new, so right now, I just have to do whatever the state statute tells me to do. And so, and that's why I made that comment, is that you can't, that's not, I don't care what you approved, if it's in conflict with the state statute, it doesn't mean anything. And again, 3 attorneys are here. Please, speak up if I have wrongly interpreted this. Plus, later in the meeting, I was going to pass this out, but I've been through this issue before, which I think is why I had such a visceral reaction. In 2014, we had a new village treasurer. She was a CPA. She was very good, but we had an administrator that wanted to govern her. And I'm like, okay, this isn't working. So I had 2 opinions. Ran across them, Bezos Freeman, which was Mr. Braithwaite, our village attorney at the time. And then, let's see, there's 3 that way. And then I had written a letter to Stuart Diamond at Ansel Glink and said, can you give me your opinion, on this? And so I brought these and thought, well, maybe this will help clear up some of this stuff. I don't think I have enough for everybody except for maybe the treasurers. I thought I had enough, but,
Mike's not here, I'll hold Mike's till he's
okay,
here.
thank you. So this issue has already been, as far as supervision of the treasurer, this issue has been already done since 2014. I don't believe the state statute has changed since that time, but I think they're pretty much all in concurrence. So I don't know anything about getting out of my lane. I'd love to know what topic you're talking about. I've asked a lot of questions about liability. I believe liability is a treasurer issue. I believe permitting fees and what you're projecting. We've had all sorts of conversations. So whatever you think I got out of somebody's lane, my guess is it has money involved or liability somewhere. I don't know, because you didn't bring any questions to me. I have no idea what you're talking about. And during the regular meeting, I came prepared to give an update on some of the things we're doing and we've accomplished. And I think Administrator Rooney can testify. We've been very busy the last 2 weeks, and we've gotten a lot accomplished, and we've addressed a lot of issues, and I would bet that we have been a lot more efficient in 2 weeks than any accounting firm would be, because we already know the players, we know the history, we know how to get the information we need. And I think later, if I'm given the opportunity to give you a full audit of what we've discovered so far, I think you're going to say, oh, wow, I think we need to give them a chance. I really think, and I also, the stuff that was passed out, because of some of the comments I heard, it includes some information, not so much a resume, but maybe experience for both Russ Circa, who is a CPA that's working in our department, and his wife Julie, who is doing HR work. And both of them, I think, I have been thrilled to know they're as capable as they are. And right now, we have been given a gift with the quality of people that we have to fix this. And we also have been blessed because Rebecca Flackus, who was our former treasurer, who both Russ and I have determined was the last treasurer who had mastered the software and had everything in there correct. And so we are starting our review from that point forward, and she has been here for 3 days training. And so we've already done a lot of things and improved things, and we're well on our way to resolving all of these things. So I'd like to, I hope that before you vote, you really consider giving us an opportunity, at least until the end of the fiscal year. That's only 2 months, well, 3 months, February, March, and April, to get through the budget cycle, see if we can get all these records up to date and these bank recs reconciled. So, because what dawned on me is this particular board has never seen consistent monthly treasurer's report. We have had 4 in our history very good treasurers, where we didn't have to beg for information, they were timely, they were good at budgeting, and I think you're going to be very impressed with Russ's budgeting capabilities and the detail that he's going to be giving you. And so, I'd just like to ask for an opportunity. And as far as getting out of my lane, please tell me where that is so I can make sure that doesn't happen again. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Nick.
Thank you for everything you just shared, Treasurer Smith. One thing that I would point out is, first, whatever your tenure here is at the village, you probably don't anticipate it, even in a perfect world, being that long. I mean, you're not going to be
Being
here.
what?
Being that long. You're not going to be here for years.
No.
We have 2 local folks from the village, Russ and Julie, fantastic folks. They're retired. They're not planning on being here very long either. So what I would ask of you, depending on how all this goes, your time as treasurer, that you take it in your familiarity with the village to help onboard a professional firm, a long-term agency with your couple months that are here. That would be my request, again, depending on how your term ends up playing out. And I think that that would be in the best interest of the village, if you were supportive and could work as a team with an agency.
May I respond?
Sure, go ahead.
I can do that, but the problem is, it's her decision. That's your problem. This has to be when she's ready to make the change. Now, what I would like in a perfect world for this board to consider at this time is that you give us the flexibility, as I have $1,000 of spending authority as the treasurer and department head, and then we also have a budget for that function. And if I'm under budget, which of course we don't know yet because we don't have it, I may have to put all the numbers in Excel and add it up so I know what we've spent year to date. But if I'm under that authority, I want the flexibility to be able to get help if we get to a point where, for example, you've got 37 escrows that have money in them. Well, guess what? Those need to all be cleaned up. We either need to pay the money back or send it downstate to unclaimed property. So that's going to be a project. If we get stuck and we can't figure it out, then we need to be able to hire somebody to come help us do that. If we need, I had spoken to Administrator Rooney earlier today. If it's bad that all of this is happening at this time, because we have budget coming up. We do not want to go through what we went through last year and wait till the last minute. So one way to get this thing to happen faster would be to hire somebody else to help us, like Rebecca, who's already familiar with the software. She designed most of the reports in the software to help us to get up and running. But again, I don't even think I need the authority if I'm under budget and and I know we can afford to do it, but I don't know that answer to that yet. But the issue is her. And yes, I mean, if the village president desires to have a firm do the accounting over an individual, then of course I'm going to support that, because that's her choice. She can she can appoint anybody she wants at any time. That's her prerogative, just like the village attorney. It's in the same part of the code, of the municipal code. It says, the person that appoints can remove. So that's one of the privileges of being the village president, is then you get to decide who you want to work with you. That is the only good thing about being the village president, is that you get to choose who you appoint. That's the privilege of running for office and taking the leadership role and the liability of being the CEO of the village, which is why I'm here. One of the reasons I took the job was to make sure Barbara didn't get manipulated and hoodwinked out of her presidential powers of appointment, which is what you all did when you passed that Lauterbach and Amon contract. I don't know whether you realized you were doing it, but that was the effect of it. So I don't have a problem. I can work with anybody, but I think right now with the four people you have in that department, you need to let them do their job and let them work as long as they can until they don't want to do it, and that's the time to switch to something different, which at that time may be the best thing. But you gotta let us get everything up. There are so many issues that I'm happy to go through with you later, but there are so many issues that have to be fixed, and it's going to be time-consuming, and $40 an hour is a heck of a lot better than 100 and whatever that contract was, 150 an hour? I mean, whatever it was. This is the most economical, efficient way to do it. I believe, having worked with Russ for 2 weeks, I believe he's humble enough and I'm humble enough to say, we don't know how to do it, we're not mastering the software, we need more help, we need to bring somebody. I think you're gonna get the work product you want, but you've gotta give us a little time. And I think you'll be pleased through the budget process, but you've gotta give us time, because all of this, it's like the fire hose is open and it's just flowing in. So I'm happy to do that, but I can't commit anything because it's Barbara's decision. Until she makes an appointment, I'm in office until I die or resign. And if she chooses to terminate me, like maybe what happened with the attorney, in theory, if somebody else isn't appointed, then yes, I serve until another appointment has been made. But that's not what happened here. The Office of Treasurer was abandoned. And like I said, she had the right to appoint an interim without advice and consent of the board, and there's nothing in the statute that says how long the interim can be there. I mean, there might be some case law, but I don't know what it is. So, it's her decision, not mine. I'm not
Go
running.
ahead, Frank.
So were we lied to at the last meeting, because we were told that you'd be stepping down after a couple months of trying to get things straightened out and going into the budget process?
We were.
So was the agreement that was struck and presented to us to get us to vote a certain way just all a lie to get a vote?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right, the original.
I mean, you just said that it's up to Barbara, you could be here till you die, but I thought we all agreed,
No, there's a deadline, yeah.
I understand, but I thought there was an agreement that after 60 days, 90 days, whatever the drop dead date was, that you'd step down. You didn't say anything about that in what you just said.
Oh, okay.
So,
Can
and
I
then my other
respond?
comment is related to the budget amendment. I think we went into a long dissertation related to HR to you that we said we were gonna incorporate into the legal fees, because HR is legal, and there were arguments against saying that you needed a budget amendment, but yet you went out and hired someone. I'm assuming we're paying this someone, and there was a budget amendment to allow that to happen.
Can I-
So the fact that everything is just running amok and the board isn't being informed, and that all the authority, according to you, goes to the president, why the hell are we here?
Okay, I'd be willing to respond.
Okay.
Okay, let me think what your first question was. Oh, so
I would like to say something first, if I may.
okay, go ahead.
In your little dissertation about the power of appointment, I think you're confused about the power of appointment, removal, and supervision, which is one of the things we were trying very hard to clarify in our organization chart. So it's very clear that the power to appoint and the power to remove does not imply the power to supervise. So when you say that, well, as former president, and I really get tired of hearing that in the context of the current role, so, but as former president, then the power to appoint the people you want to work with is one of the perks of the job. Well, you might get to appoint those people, but you don't get to work with them in the way that you imagine. You don't get to supervise them. You know, they work for the corporate authorities or they work for the administrator, but they don't work for the president. None of these positions roll up to the president. So, you know, this is where we're running into problems here. And, you know, in absence of leadership, because we have no leadership in the office of president here. So in absence of leadership, the rest of the board has been attempting to provide leadership to bring us to professional solutions, rather than solutions that are dependent on insider people and friends and neighbors and these types of things that Trustee Benetti was referring to previously. We really need to stay on the professional path that we set already. And if the only thing that I've heard, the only one single little word that I've heard so far that seems to be problematic for you, at least, about the Lauterbach and Amon contract is the word, says finance director / treasurer. So if it just said finance director, would that make you happy? Because they would be doing virtually all of the same things.
Do you want, are you asking me my legal opinion here?
Not
Which I
really,
don't
because I don't
have.
think you're qualified to give us a legal
Well, I
opinion.
can give you my opinion, whatever that's worth, and then we can ask these people what they want to say. But
Well,
for-
they're not invited, because they don't work for us right now.
Well, technically, I believe Carrie Lynn should be sitting there based on what your president did, but that's not my fight to fight. First, to answer you,
I just want to point out that you just left your lane by giving an opinion on who our attorney should be. That has nothing to do with the treasurer.
you're right, I left my lane, you're right.
And this is
So
this
that's
is
the
the
second
ongoing
incident
problem.
today that I know about where that happened.
Okay, would you like me to answer you? This is what happened. When I talked to Trustee Millette, I said, look, you and I both know, I don't need a full-time job. I don't want to do this, but I am, first off, nobody wants this village to succeed more than I. There are people in this audience that know, and if Trustee Millette was here, he was involved in the incorporation of. I see Linda Pretet in the audience. I see Al Rotman in the audience. These people know the sacrifice, blood, sweat, and tears that went into getting this village incorporated and up and running. There is nobody that wants this village to function efficiently and economically. I'm the one that made the promise to the people that we would be fiscally responsible and live within our means. Well, I believe that has not been happening, and I believe I am uniquely qualified, like I said last time, to fix this. My goal is to get you through the end of this fiscal year, get a budget that that is balanced, to go into the next fiscal year. And when I had a conversation with trustee Millette, he said something about, well, we'll just make it a 3-month term, or, I can't remember what the specific date. And I said, well, that's great, except you've got a problem, because I'm pretty sure you don't get to restrict the president's appointment of terms. And luckily, Carmen piped up at the meeting and said the village code says treasurer's appointed for 3 years. So that answered that. So you can't do anything about it. It's a 3-year term, just like the Plan Commission and the ZBA have terms defined by, that's municipal code, but this is our village code. So that's why you can't say there's a lie, because your village code dictates what the term is.
What was your agreement with Mike Millette to step down after a short amount
I
of time?
never agreed to that, because
But that
I
was what
said,
was presented at our meeting.
I don't know what was
I
presented.
can go back to the video. You were sitting here, so you
But I
must
also
know. And we
heard
can go to
com-
the video and review the video where you said and Mike said that you would resign after the transition.
And do you remember me raising my hand to interject? And he said, I know it's a 3-year term or something like that, that you can't restrict the term. I tried to
But,
correct
so
him.
you're saying you did not tell trustee Millette that you would resign after a set amount of
I
time?
never said I would resign. I said my goal is to get them through this fiscal year, because I know it's what she wants. If I get you through this fiscal year, and I hope and I have told Russ this, my goal is that we earn your respect by our work product.
Okay, that, I want to go on record to say that I was misled and misunderstood the motion at the time it was made, and I want to rescind the motion. Because what you just said is contrary to what was discussed, so I feel misled or I misunderstood, which caused me to vote in a way that I want to change at this point.
The deadline's 3 years, because that's what the village code dictates.
Or it's at the end of the term of the president.
Or, yeah, I think that might have been mentioned, which I think is state statute, because any new president can make the change. But if the new president comes in and chooses not to, then the treasurer appointment stays for 3 years.
Until there's an appointment.
Until there's an appointment. I mean, I think a lot of this is not understanding the municipal code and the village code and not having it clarified.
No, this is being misled. This is being told one thing and having something else happen.
No. So, again, the issue is that I would have to resign. I have the right to resign, and I think Mike, if I go back and listen to the tape, said, so it's gonna be your job to convince her that the best thing for the village would be the other people.
No, you could resign at your own volition. You don't need the president to okay that.
No, the issue Mike said, though, was that it was gonna be my job. If you guys all agree you want the professional firm, he said, well, then
So-
you're gonna have to, again, it goes back
So
to you gotta convince
so
the
pro-
village president.
The problem is we're losing control of our
You have
meeting,
to be
and I call the
You have to be
question.
recognized.
Recognize her.
I think Therese was first. She had her hand up.
There was an extensive discussion about the fact that as I know, at one point, we did talk about having, making it like some sort of a temporary appointment. And we all agreed after looking at the statute and looking at looking at our code, that wasn't possible. It wasn't something we could do, and that was discussed pretty lengthily here. We all talked about this, and so the motion was very clear that that we could not put a limit on her time. And there was never, so watch the video, because it was very clear. That discussion was had by all of us.
I've
and-
watched the video.
And Mike also confirmed, and he was one that was making the motion, that we cannot put a time limit on this appointment. It's a 3-year appointment.
I don't wanna be here for 3 years.
I would challenge all of you to go back and watch that video and to listen specifically to what trustee Millette said. That even though he
State
understood
statute.
that, there was an agreement on the table that the treasurer would step down. At this point, the question's been called. I think we should stop discussion.
Yeah, Patsy's got a,
Do a roll call.
yeah. Yeah, hold on. there. Are you ready?
Let's see, you call the question? Trustee Burson?
I did? Yes.
Aye. Trustee Benetti?
Aye.
Trustee Boatner?
Aye.
Trustee Hoffensberger?
Nay.
Trustee Muir?
Abstain.
No. Can I vote? Okay.
No, the motion fails for, everyone's voted, right? So there are 2 affirmative votes, if I counted correctly.
Three.
3, so that means the motion has failed, because 4 are required. So you could vote yes if you wanted to. But I don't think that is your plan.
Okay, motion fails.
That would end the special meeting.
The motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn the special meeting.
Carrie Lynn, do you have anything to add to that before we, okay. All right, motion to adjourn,
So moved.
moved by Janet, second. Second by Nick, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
You want to give a 5-minute break before we start the meeting?
If you want, you.
I'd
you
recommend
want a
that we
break?
wait for trustee Millet to get here before we start our regular
We don't
meeting.
know what time he'll be.
He said about 8 o'clock. It's 10 minutes from now.
Why don't you text him?
All right, we're going to take a 5-minute recess.
He said, check if Mike, did he send you a message on your phone?
No.
I said,
don't
Mike,
want to-
are you gonna get here? He said, it should be 7:45. It's 7:45. At 6:57, Mike said, Cal just ended moving the regular meeting.
It'll be a while then.
Consider's done. So, but he's 15 minutes away.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, he's 15 minutes when they finish talking. So he's 20 minutes away.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
I will try. What's your ETA? I will say,
Okay. It doesn't matter at
is
this point.
8
Let's say hi to Alan.
But isn't that his responsibility? Why would you need to see that? You would just have to tell him.
They're fighting about James. No, I'm not getting this person.
Oh, I got it.
You know, Patsy wants to get hands on the stuff.
No, yeah, no, we're not doing that here.
Right. And that's what you didn't ask for the personnel. You didn't ask for the personnel. No, please answer the question.
The personnel files in my office.
How you doing, Tom? Good, nice to meet you. Question. Are you, at some point tonight, is it gonna be a closed session, or are you going to?
Administrative session. Yeah. Not,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.